Question 2, solve x and y if 5x equals 6y minus 4, 2y equals 3x minus 4. Plus 4. Okay. Again, we can use elimination or substitution method. So suppose this is number was 1, second equation number was 2. So from the second equation, we know that, well, actually we can just directly put equation 2 into 1, right? So that means 5x equals 6y. 6y is 3 times 2y, right? 2y is 3x plus 4 and minus 4. So that means 5x equals 9x plus 12 minus 4, right? So that means 4x equals minus 12 plus 4, which is minus 8. So this gives you x is minus 2. So let's label this with 3. Then we can put 3 into number 2. This seems easier, right? Okay, so this gives you 2y equals 3 times of x, which is minus 2 plus 4, which is minus 2. So this gives you y is minus 1. Okay, so now our conclusion is x is minus 2, y is minus 1. Okay, any questions? No? Okay, let's see the next one. All right, this is 1 and this is 2. Again, we can put, okay, from number 2, we can see that 2x is actually minus 3y minus 5, right? So let's label this with 3, and then we can just directly put equation 3 into equation 1. So let's put 3 into 1, and this will give you 4x is actually 2 times 2x, right? 2x is minus 3y minus 5. So minus 7y equals 13. Okay, so this will give you minus 6y minus 10 minus 7y equals 13. So this means minus 13y equals 23, right? So this will give you y equals minus 23 over 13. So let's call this a 4. Then we can put equation 4 into equation 3. This will give you 2x equals minus 3 times minus 23 over 13 minus 5. So we can get x is actually 2 over 13, right? And now we can make the conclusion. Final solution is x equals 2 over 13, y is minus 23 over 13. Okay? Any questions here? No? All right, next one. Next one seems a little easier, right? We can just use equation 1 plus equation 2. And this will give you 3x minus 7y plus 2x plus 7y equals 14 plus 6, right? And this will give you y is canceled with each other, and there is only 5x equals 20. So that means x is 4, right? Okay, let's see, this is number 3. Then we can put number 3 into either first or the second. The second one seems a little easier because the numbers are smaller, right? So let's put equation 3 into equation 2. And this will give you 2 times 4 plus 7y equals 6. Then we can solve 7y equals 6 minus 8, which is minus 2, right? So that means y is minus 2 over 7. Okay, so now we can make the conclusion. X is 4 and y is minus 2 over 7. Okay? Okay, so question 1 to question 4 are actually from your previous assignment, which are very simple two-variable system of linear equations. These are the fundamental to solve our following questions. Okay, and the following questions are a little complex. And from question 10 onwards, they are actually real-world problems. You need to model the problem into mathematical formulas based on the English statement. Okay, so let's start from question 5. Okay, question 5, suppose that labeled with 1 and 2, which method shall we choose? Actually, both of them, both the elimination and substitution method is not very complex, right? So here we choose substitution method. From equation 1, we can get y is 13 minus 8x, right? So let's call this 3. Then we can put 3 into the other equation, which is 2. This way you will get 3x plus 4y. 4y means 4 times 13 minus 8x. And this is minus 6, right? Okay, let's expand everything. 3x plus 4 by 13 is 52, right? And minus 4 by 8 is 32x equals minus 6. Okay, so let's put all the x's to the right side of the equation. That means 29x equals 52 plus 6, which is 58, right? So we can easily solve x is 2. And let's call this 4. Then we can put equation 4 into equation 3. And in that way, you can directly solve y equals 13 minus 8 times x. X is 2, right? So 13 subtracted by 16, which is minus 3. Now you can make the conclusion. X is 2 and y is minus 3. This is our final solution. Okay, any questions? No? Okay, let's see the next one. Question 6. Okay. Question 6, what's the difference between question 6 and 5? Question 6 has ratios, right? So we can simplify this question by eliminating all the ratios. So we can time a 7 to both sides of equation 1. And that will give you 2x minus 3y equals 7, right? And this new equation looks neater. You can call this number 3. And for equation 2, we can time a 5 to both sides of equation 2. This will give you minus 2x plus 6y equals 5, right? And let's call this 4. And then note that we can directly add 3 and 4 to eliminate the x. Okay, so this will give you 2x minus 3y plus minus 2x plus 6y equals 12, right? Okay, 2x minus 2x, x can be eliminated. 6y minus 3y is 3y. 3y equals 12. That means y is 4, right? Okay, so let's call this 5. Then we can put equation 5 into either equation 3 or 4, right? So how about into 3? And this way you will get 2x minus 3 times y, which is a 4, equals 7. So that means 2x equals 7 plus 12, which is 19, right? Okay, so that means x is 19 over 2. So now the final solution is x is 19 over 2. And at the same time, y is 4. Okay, any questions? No? All right, let's see the next one. Question 7. Okay. So what's the difference between question 7 and the above simple systems? Question 7 has decimals, right? So usually we don't like decimals. So you can try to convert it to integers. Okay, how to convert them into integers? Note that you can time a 10 to both sides of equation 1, right? However, I think 5 is a little simpler because if you time a 5 to both sides, you will get integers as well. So let's time a 5 to both sides of equation 1. So this will give you minus 6x plus 3y equals minus 6, right? And this is actually can be further simplified by dividing 3 to both sides of the equation. So this will give you minus 2x plus y equals minus 3. Minus 2, right? So let's call this 3. And how about the second equation? How to eliminate decimals? We can time a 5 as well, right? Okay, time a 5 to both sides of equation 2. This will give you 2x plus y equals minus 1, right? So let's call this 4. So note that we can put 3 and 4, add them up together. In this way, you will get minus 2x plus y plus 2x plus y equals minus 3. Right? Okay, so that means 2y equals minus 3, and you can solve y is actually minus 3 over 2. So let's call this 5. Then we can put number 5 into either equation 3 or equation 4, right? So let's put it into 4. Then you will get 2x minus 3 over 2 equals minus 1. Then 2x is 1 over 2. That means x is 1 over 4, right? So in this way, we can solve the final solution is x is 1 over 4, and y is minus 3 over 2. Okay, have a look at that. Any questions? No? Okay, let's see the next one. So question 8. Strictly speaking, this is not a system of linear equations, right? Because we have radical signs here. But note, if we use substitution method, we can let square root x equals m and square root of y equals n. And the original system is equivalent to 2m plus 4n equals 12. And 3m plus 4n equals 11, right? And this is a linear system of equations. So that means we can use similar method as we discussed above to solve it, right? So how do we solve this linear equation system? Okay, we can use, okay, suppose we label this 1 and 2. We can use elimination method, right? To use the elimination method, you can time as 3 to both sides of equation 1. This will give you 6m plus 15n equals 36. And time it 2 to both sides of equation 2. This will give you 6m plus 8n equals 22, right? Let's label these with number 3 and 4 respectively. Okay, and next we can use equation 3 subtracted by equation 4. This will give you 7n equals 15, right? So that means n is 2. So let's call this equation 5. Then we can put 5 into either equation 1 or equation 2. So suppose we put it in equation 1. And then this will give you 2m plus 5n, which is 5 by 2, equals 12, right? And you can solve m is actually 12, subtracted by 10 is 2. And then divided by 2, that means m is 1. So that means square root x is 1. And square root of y is 2, right? So x is 1 and y is 4. This is our final solution, right? Okay, have a look at that. Any questions? Okay. If you have no questions, let's look at question 9. Question 9, what's the difference here? The difference is now we have 3 variables, right? 3 variables, x, y, z, and 3 equations. So in essence, you can solve this system. The method is to reduce the number of variables, because we have already know that how we can solve a two-variable, two-equation system, right? So that means you need to convert the three-variable, three-equation system to a two-variable, two-equation system, right? So in order to do this, you can start from any one of these equations. Usually we'll start from the simplest one. So let's label this with 1, 2, 3 respectively. Which one is simplest? I think equation 1 is the simplest, right? So suppose we want to eliminate x in equation 2 and 3. In order to do that, we need to solve x in terms of y and z, right? So note that we can first we can divide a 3 to both sides of equation 1. So this will give you x minus 3z equals 11, right? And you can further solve x in terms of y and z. That means x is 3z plus 11. There is no y, right? It does not matter, because if it does have y, you can put this number 4 into number 2 and number 3 and to eliminate all the x's there, right? And if it does not contain y, problem is much easier, because when you put 4 into number 2 and number 3, you can also eliminate all the x's there. So it does not matter if you have a y here or not. So next step, you can put number 4 into number 2, right? That means 7x. X is 3z plus 11 minus 4y minus z equals minus 15, right? This can be further simplified to 21z plus 77 minus 4y minus z equals 15, right? And can be further simplified to minus 4y plus 20z equals minus 92, right? Okay, so usually we can write it like this. This looks much neater, right? 4y minus 20z equals 92. Okay, so let's label this with 5. Okay, then we can put number 4 into number 3. This will give us 4x. That means 4 of 3z plus 11 and plus 6y plus 5z equals minus 6, right? Okay, and this can be further simplified. 12z plus 44 plus 6y and plus 5z equals minus 6. Okay, and this is actually 6y 6y plus 17z equals minus 50, right? Okay, let's call this 6. Okay, remember, note that equation 5 can be further simplified to, okay, you can divide 4 to both sides of 5, right? So that means y minus 5z equals 23. Okay, let's call this 7. Then we can put 7 into 6, which you will get y is actually 5z plus 23, right? So 6y plus 17z equals minus 50. So that means 30z plus 138 plus 17z equals minus 50, right? Okay, so 47z equals minus 188. Okay, so the good news is 188 is divisible by 47. So that means that is minus 4, right? Okay. So here we have solved z. Then we can put number 8 back into five, right? So this will give you 4y minus 20 times minus 4 equals 92. So 4y equals 12, right? So that gives you y is 3. So let's call this number 9. Okay, running out of space, so let's continue here. Then we can put number 8 and number 9 into, actually we don't have to use number 9, right? Just put number 8. Number 8 is enough to solve our x. Just put number 8 into 4. Note that in equation 4, there is a relationship between x and z. So in that way, you will get x is 3 times z, which is minus 4, plus 11, which is minus 1, right? Okay, so our final solution is x equals minus 1, y equals 3, and z equals minus 4, right? Okay, have a look at that. Any questions? So did you get this method? The key is to reduce the number of variables. We convert the 3-variable 3-equation system into a 2-variable and 2-equation system, and then use the same method we discussed before to solve the 2-variable 2-equation system, and then put the solved 2 variables into any of these equations to solve the other variable, right? Okay, so the key is to convert an unknown problem to the problem you have already known, right? So think about this. In your next assignment, probably you will see another similar problem, okay? I hope you do not make mistakes there. Okay, if you don't have any questions, let's proceed to the application questions. So what's the key point of the application questions? In the application questions, there is no formulas, right? You need to convert the wording to mathematical formulas. This is called mathematical modeling. Okay, that is to convert English words or French words into math formulas or signs or something else, anything else, I mean. Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, this is the first step, right? The second step is to solve the formula, solve the equations. Okay, so first step is the key. Okay, so let's have a look at how we can do this. Question 10 tells you a football game was played between two teams, the Cougars and the Panthers. Okay, so here we have two teams, right? The two teams scored a total of 34 points. The Cougars won by a margin of 14 points. How many points did the Panthers score? So each of the teams scored some points, right? So suppose, actually we want to know what score of each team, right? So suppose the Cougars get C points and the Panthers scored P points. Okay, of course here you can use X and Y, right? The reason I want to use C and P is that it's much easier for you to remember the actual meaning of the letters, right? If you use letter X, sooner or later, you probably will forget the meaning of the X, right? So I think it's better to choose a letter that is connected to the real meaning of the variables. So suppose here we use C stand for the points of the Cougars and P stands for the points of the Panthers, right? So what we have known, you need to translate the given information. So usually this is in English or French into math equations, right? Because now we have two variables. In order to solve two variables, we need to have some equations, right? So what do we know here? We know that the sum of the two scores is 34. So that means C plus P is 34, right? This is the first information you know. Any other information? Of course, you also know that the Cougars won by a margin of 14 points. That means Cougars minus Panthers is 14, right? Because it says Cougars won by a margin of 14 points, right? So that means now we have two variables and two equations. So this question now becomes, how do we solve this system of linear equations? Of course, we have learned how to solve this, right? Okay, let's label this with A and B. You can use A plus B to eliminate the P's there. So that will give you 2C equals 48, right? And that gives you C is 24. C is 24. What is the meaning of this? That means Cougars have scored 24 points, right? Okay, let's call this C. Then you can put C into B. That means you can solve P is C minus 14, which is 10, right? So what does this mean? This means P is 10 means Panthers has scored 10 points, right? Okay, so in this way, we solved C and P. But it's not over yet. Pay attention to the original question. What did the question ask you? The question asked you, how many points did the Panthers score? So we need to answer this question. Okay, usually you should answer the question at the end of this question, at the end. So here we can say the Panthers scored how many points? Panthers scored points is P, right? P is 10, so Panthers scored 10 points, right? So this is a complete process of how we answer the real world problem, okay? Any questions? No? All right, follow the same principle. Let's have a look at question 11. Mariana has only nickels and quarters in her piggy bank. Their combined value is 9.15. Their combined weight is 1 pound. 90 nickels weigh 1 pound and 80 quarters weigh 1 pound. How many nickels does Mariana have in her piggy bank? So what is the question here? Question asks you how many nickels does Mariana have in her piggy bank, right? So usually we can use letters to denote the unknown quantities. So let's say she has n nickels, right? Is there any unknown amount else? Are there any other unknown amount? Of course there are, right? The quarters, we don't know the number of quarters there. So let's say the number of quarters is Q. How about Q? N stands for nickels and Q stands for quarters. Okay, so what do we know here? What is the known information? First of all, we know that the combined value is 9.15, right? So what is the value of each nickel? Each nickel is worth of 0.05 dollars, right? There is a little background information. I hope you know this. Okay, so that means for all of the n nickels, their combined value is 0.05 n, right? And for all the combined value of Q quarters, for each quarter, the value is 0.25, right? That's why this is called a quarter. So for all the quarters, the combined value is 0.25 quarters, right? So the total combined value is 0.15. This is one of the information we have interpreted from the English sentence, right? Okay. Is there any other information that we know? We also know that their combined weight is 1 pound, okay? Combined weight is 1 pound. So what is the total weight of nickels? It says 90 nickels weigh 1 pound. That means for each nickel, the weight is 1/90, right? So 1/90 times n plus, so for each quarter, the weight is 1/80, right? One over 80 times a Q equals 1 pound, right? So these are the information we have already know. Okay, so based on this system of linear equations, two variables and two equations, we can solve our n and q, right? Okay, so how do we solve this equation? So usually we don't like ratios and we don't like decimals. So first of all, let's simplify this equation. For the first one, we can simplify it by time 100 to both sides of the equation, right? So that means 5n plus 25q. Okay, it's better to write them separately here. So this is 1, this is 2. Okay, number 1, 5n plus 25q equals 915, right? And note that both sides can be further divided by 5, and this will give you n plus 5q equals 183, right? So now this is simplified form. Let's label this with 3. How about the second one? Second one, we can time 72 to both sides of the equation, right? Time 720 to both sides of the equation, and this will give you 8n plus 9q equals 720. Correct? Okay, so let's call this number 4. Then we can put number 3 into number 4, right? Okay, number 3 tells you, oh, let's make this clear. Actually, this is n equals 183 minus 5q, right? This is 3. So let's put 3 into 4, and this will give you 8 times of n, which is y 193 minus 5q plus 9q equals 720, right? Okay, let's simplify. This means we can solve our q, right? Okay. 8 by 183 is 1464 minus 40q plus 9q equals 720. Then further simplified to 744 equals 31 Q, right? Okay, so Q is 744 over 31. This is divisible, should be an integer, right? So Q is 24, right? Okay. Are we done yet? That depends on the question, right? It asks you how many equals does Mariana have? So that means we need to solve the n as well. Okay, so let's label this with 5. Then we can put 5 into number 3. Then you will get n is 183 minus 5 times 24, which is 63, right? Okay, now we can make the conclusion. She has how many equals? That's the value of n, right? N is 63. So that means she has 63 equals. Okay, please have a look at that. Any questions? No? Can you follow me? Okay. If you don't have any questions, let's look next. Tweedledum says, the sum of your weight and twice mine is 361 pounds. Tweedledum says, contrary-wise, the sum of your weight and twice mine is 362 pounds. If they are both correct, how much do Tweedledum and Tweedledee weigh together? Okay, so these are two cartoon characters, right? So first of all, how many unknown quantities are there? There are two unknown quantities, right? So we can let E be the Tweedledee's weight. This is the first unknown quantity, right? And the second one is we can use a letter M be Tweedledum the weight, right? And we need to solve E plus M, right? Because it asks you to find how much do they weigh together. So this is our target. You don't need to solve E and M separately. As long as you solve the sum of E and M, your task is finished. So let's see what we have known from the English expression. First of all, we know that E plus 2M. This is the first expression, right? Is 361, right? Okay, and from the second expression, we know that 2E plus M equals 362, right? Okay, so now we have two variables and two equations. Then in essence, we can solve each of the variables, right? Okay, note that we don't need to solve them separately. As long as we can solve the sum of the E and M, we're done. So note that we can use equation 1 plus equation 2, right? And this will give you E plus 2M plus 2E plus M. This is 7, 2, 3, right? Okay, so that means 3E plus 3M equals 7, 2, 3, right? Okay, so note that you can use distributive laws to put the 3 in front, and this will give you 3 times the sum of E and M equals 7, 2, 3. Okay, so that means we solved the sum of E and M, which is 7 to 3 divided by 3, which is 2, 4, 1, right? Okay, so as long as we have solved E plus M, the question is done. So that means we can make the conclusion. You don't have to solve them separately, right? So the conclusion is together they weigh 2, 4, 1 pounds. Okay. Any questions? No? Okay, let's see the next one. 2 years ago, Jean was 9 times as old as Carol. He's now 7 times as old as she is. Question A, find Jean's and Carol's ages now. B, in how many years from now will Jean be 5 times as old as Carol? Okay, so here, how many unknown quantities there? There are 2 unknown quantities, right? One of them is Jean's age, and the other one is Carol's current age. So let's use 2 letters to denote the 2 unknown quantities. Okay, so let's suppose now Jean is G years old. And Carol is C years old. Okay, of course here you can use X and Y. Again, we use the letter G and C in order to remember the meaning behind the letters easily, right? Okay, so 2 years ago, we're gonna use some information in 2 years ago, right? So that means 2 years ago, you can list the ages of these 2 persons. Jean was G minus 2 years old, right? And Carol was C minus 2 years old, right? So we have 2 variables. We should have 2 equations to solve the 2 variables, right? So what are the 2 equations? They should come from the English expression. So what do we know here? 2 years ago, Jean was 9 times as old as Carol. So that means G minus 2 is 9 times of Carol's age, which is C minus 2, right? This is the first information we have interpreted. How about the other information? He's now 7 times as old as she is. So that means G is 7 times of Carol's current age, which is C, right? These are the two equations we have interpreted from the English speaking, from the English expression, right? Okay, so let's see, this is equation 1 and this is equation 2. So how do we solve these equations? We can just put equation 2 into equation 1, right? So this will give you G is 7C. So that means 7C minus 2 equals 9C minus 2. Okay, so that means 2C sorry, this is 9C minus 18. So that means 2C equals 16, right? Then we can solve C is 8. So that means Carol's current age is 8. So let's call this number 3. Then we can put number 3 into number 2. In this way, we can solve G is 7 times of C, which is 8. And G is, of course, 56, right? Okay, so that means Carol's current age is 8, and Jean's current age is 56. So let's make a conclusion for A. Jean is 56 years old, and Carol is 8 years old. Okay, so we have finished the first task. The next task is to find in how many years from now will Jean be 5 times as old as Carol. So we don't know this quantity, right? So usually we use a letter to denote the quantities that you want to know. So for the second question, okay, let's suppose in Y years or T years, Jean be 5 times as old as Carol. So that means in T years, how old will Jean be? Jean will be 56 plus T years old, right? And it should be 5 times as old as Carol. How old will be Carol? She will be 8 plus T years old, right? And then we have one variable and one equation. Of course, you can solve the value of T, right? Okay, so that means 56 plus T equals 40 plus 5T. So that means 4T equals 16, sorry. So that means T is 4. The unit is years. Okay, so now we can make the conclusion. So that means in 4 years, okay, Jean will be 5 times as old as Carol. Okay, any questions? Have a look at these. No? Okay, let's see the next one. Okay, my parents started a small farm after they retired. On their farm, they have chickens and pigs. In total, there are 40 animal legs among the chickens and pigs, and there are 16 animal heads. How many chickens do my parents have? Okay, for a chicken, how many legs does a chicken has? 2, right? Because one chick has 2 legs. So how about pigs? A pig should have 4 legs, right? So this is chicken and this is pig. So suppose we let C denote the number of chickens, because you want to know this number, right? You want to know this number and this number is unknown, then you can use a letter to denote the number here, and then try to solve this number from the given information, which can be interpreted into mathematical equations. Next, you also want to know that, you don't want to know the number of pigs there, right? But in order to solve the number of chickens, you need to use a letter P denote the number of pigs, because this will help you to set up the system of equations. So what information do we have here? First one, pay special attention to the sentence that containing quantities. So this sentence is crucial, right? 40 animal legs in total. So that means 2C plus 4P, because for each chick, there are 2 legs, right? For each pig, there are 4 legs. So the total number of legs is 2C plus 4P, right? Total number of legs is 40. So what else do we know? There are 16 animal heads, okay? For each chick, there is 1 head, right? And for each pig, there is another head. So total number of chickens mean total number of heads from chickens is C. Total number of heads from pigs is P. And C plus P is the total number of heads, which is 16, right? So these are the 2 pieces of information that we know. And from this information, we can solve C and P, right? So let's denote this with number 1 and number 2 respectively. Okay, we can time a 2 to both sides of equation 2, and this will give you 2C plus 2P equals 32, right? So let's denote this with 3. Okay, then we can use equation 1 subtracted by equation 3, and this will give you 2P equals 8. That means P is 4. P is 4, meaning the number of pigs is 4, right? So let's call this 4. Of course, here we want to know the number of chickens as well. So let's put 4 into 2. This we can solve. C is 16 minus P. P is 4. That means C is 12, right? So that means the number of chickens is 12. Okay, so now we can make the conclusion. How many chickens do my parents have? So the conclusion is my parents have 12 chickens. right? Okay, have a look at this question. Anything you want to ask? No? Okay, let's see question 15. Sum of Eric's and Bob's weights is 9 times greater than the difference of their weights. The positive difference of their weights is also 240 pounds less than the sum. If Eric weighs less than Bob, find Bob's weight. Okay, so you want to find Bob's weight, right? And you don't know this quantity. So this is one of the variables we need to use a letter to denote. Of course, you also don't know Eric's weight, right? So for anything you don't know, you can use a letter to denote that and try to find the connection between those variables. So first of all, let Bob's weight be B pounds. Okay, B for Bob. So how about uppercase? You can use either use uppercase or lowercase. That does not matter. Okay, and let Eric's weight be E pounds. How about E pounds? Okay, so we have these two unknown quantities, right? In order to solve values, we need to know the connections between these two quantities. Any given information there, okay, as I said, pay special attention to the sentence that containing numbers. So we have a number here and a number here, right? So that means two pieces of information has been given to you. First of all, the sum of these two weights is 9 times greater than the difference of their weights. Okay, so the sum of these two weights means B plus E, right? This is 9 times greater than the difference. Difference is B minus E or E minus B. Depends on which is heavier, right? So it tells you Eric weighs less than Bob. So that means Bob weighs heavier. Okay, so difference, the positive difference is B minus E, right? Okay, this is the first piece of information you know. The second one means the positive difference of their weights is also 240 pounds less than the sum. So positive difference is B minus E, right? We have already know that this is 240 pounds less than the sum. That means B plus E minus 240, right? Okay, so now we have two variables and two equations. We can now use the same method that we have already know to solve this equation. Okay, so first of all, let's simplify this equation first. So from the first one, we know that ten E equals 8B, right? If we simplify that, we'll get 10E equals 8B. And next one, we'll get 2E equals 240, right? Because all the B's there are canceled with each other. Okay, so let's label this 1 with and 2 respectively. And from equation 2, we can directly solve that E is 120, right? So let's call this 3. Then we can put 3 into the other equation, 1. Then you will get 1200 is 8b. Okay, that means b is 150, right? Okay, so in this way, we have solved these two values. B is 150 and E is 120. And let's look back to the questions. Question is find Bob's weight. So that means we need to answer what is B, right? So the conclusion here is Bob's weight is 150 pounds. Okay, any questions? Okay, no? Okay, let's see question 16. 5 green balls and 2 red balls together weigh 10 pounds, and 1 green ball and 4 red balls together weigh 7 pounds. If all red balls weigh the same amount and all green balls weigh the same, then what is the weight of 8 red and 8 green balls together? So here, what is the unknown quantity? We don't know the weight of each green ball or red ball, right? So it's better to use two letters to denote that. Okay, suppose we let each green ball, sorry, let is not a proper word. Suppose each green ball weighs G pounds, and each red ball weighs about R pounds. So G stands for the weight of each green ball, okay? Pay attention to the word here, each. And R denotes the weight of each red ball, okay? And what do we know here? 5 green ball plus 2 red ball is 10 pounds. So that means 5G plus 2R equals 10 pounds, right? Okay, how about the other information? The other information is 4 red ball plus 1 green ball. So 1 green ball plus 4 red ball is 7 pounds, right? These are the two pieces of information we know. And what we want to solve here is not necessarily G and R separately, right? Because it asks you to find 8 red ball plus 8 green ball. So that means as long as we can solve 8G plus 8R, our task is complete, right? So note that how do we get this information? You can use equation 1 plus equation 2, right? And this will give you 6G plus 6R is 17, right? So that means G plus R is 17 over 6, right? How do we get 8G plus 8R? We can simply time an 8 to both sides of the equation, right? So this means 68 over 3. Okay, so that means the weight of 8 red and 8 green balls together is 68 over 3 pounds. So let's make the conclusion. The weight of 8 red and 8 green balls together is 68 over 3 pounds. Okay, any questions? Of course, you can also solve for G and R first, and then add 8G plus 8R. Both of them will do, okay? This method is much easier than that one. Any questions? No? Okay. Let's see question 17. At a certain time, Janice noticed that her digital watch reads A minutes after 2 o'clock. 15 minutes later, it reads B minutes after 3 o'clock. She is amused to note that A is 6 times greater than B. What time was it when she looked at her watch for the second time? So the good side of this question is it already sets up all the variables for you, right? You don't have to set up your own variables there. So all we want to know is the value of A and B, right? Okay, so from the second sentence, we know that there is a relationship between A and B. That means A is 6 times greater than B. So A is 6 times of B, right? This is one of the equations we have already know. So how about, do we know other informations between A and B? That is from the first sentence, right? So her first read is 2 o'clock plus A minutes, right? This is the first read. How about the second read? The second read is 3 o'clock plus B minutes. Okay, this is equivalent to 2 o'clock plus 60 minutes plus B minutes, right? So that means for the first read, time is 2 o'clock plus A minutes. For the second read, the time is 2 o'clock plus 60 minutes plus another B minutes, right? So what's the relationship between these two quantities here? Relationship is 15 minutes has passed from the first read to the second read, right? So that means 60 minutes plus B minutes minus A minutes is 15 minutes because it says 15 minutes has passed, right? Did you see this relationship? Okay, so together with the second relationship, which is A is 6 times greater than B, so A is 6B, right? And from these two equations, actually, first of all, we need to simplify this equation, right? Okay, so this will give you 60 plus B. Okay, so B minus A is minus 45, and A is 6B. Okay, so let's denote this with 1 and 2. We can put 2 into 1. This will give you B minus 6B equals minus 45. So that will give you 5B equals 45. That means B is 9, right? Okay, so let's call this 3. And then you can put 3 into 2 to solve A is 54, right? Okay, so are we done here? Not quite, because question asks you what the time was it when she looked at her watch for the second time. Okay, the second time is B minutes past 3 o'clock, right? So the time should be 9 minutes past 3 o'clock. So that means the time is 3:09, right? This is your answer. Okay. Any questions? No? All right, let's see the next one. Last question. Okay, the first two sentences are some backgrounds. Tells you that the area of a square equals the square of the length of the side of the square, right? Well, most of us have already know this, right? This is a definition of the area of a square. And the perimeter of a square equals the sum of the length of all four sides. Of course it is, right? So these two sentences are just some background information. And it also tells you that the sum of the areas of two squares is 65. So now we have two squares. Okay. Suppose this is a small one and this is a larger one. Okay. We know that sum of the areas of the two squares is 65. Well, the difference in their areas is 33. Find the sum of their parameters. So the areas and parameters all depend on their length of size, right? So suppose we denote the side of the smaller square as x, and the side of the larger square is y. So what do we know here? We know that the sum of the areas is 65. So that means x squared plus y squared. This is the sum of the areas, right? This equals 65. Any other information there? Of course. The second information is the difference in their areas is 33. Suppose y is larger than or equal to x. So that means y squared minus x squared equals, this is the difference, right? The difference is 33, tells you that. So from these two information, we can find x and y, right? So by first glance, it may not be a linear system, but in essence, actually it is, right? If you use a letter m to denote x squared and letter n to denote y squared, this is actually a linear equation system in disguise. So let's do that. So let m equals x squared and n equals y squared. So the original equation is equivalent to m plus n is 65 and n minus m is 33, right? And then you can use equation 1 plus equation 2 to get the 2n equals 98. So that means n is 49, right? So this is 3. And then we can put 3 back into equation 2, and then you will get m is 49 minus 33, which is 1/6. Okay, so that means what is n? N is y squared. Y squared is 49. What is m? M is x squared, right? X squared is 16. Okay, so that means x is 4, y is 7. Remember that x actually can be minus or positive 4, right? But because it's a side, it's a value of side, so it cannot be a negative. So we just ignore the negative values there. Okay, are we done yet? Not quite, because the question really asks you about the sum of their parameters. So it's actually 4x plus 4y. This is the question we need to answer, right? So 4x plus 4y is 4 times the sum of y, which is 56. Sorry, not 56. 44, right? And the unit is, okay, there is no unit, so just leave 44 there. 44 is the sum of their parameters. Okay, please have a look at this. Any questions? Okay, I'll upload this note to Google Classroom. If you want to refer to this while you are correcting all the questions, you can download it there, okay? And please do remember to download the latest assignment from there too. The next assignment will be available probably early tomorrow, okay? Please first try to correct all the problems in this assignment. Okay, if you don't have any questions, you can leave the class, and have a nice weekend.